I already opened the DLL in the assembly C# DLL, which is basically what you do every time when you hack Unity games or Mono games. So first of all, what I found was there is a class called ranked information, which got some nice methods. And also here's a check, is ranked play qualified? Which means you need to have total games played 50 and ranked practice matches 10, like 50 games played. I already have the classic 50 games played and 0 of 10 ranked practice. So that's actually our check here. I want to hook this function and just always return true so I can join the queue. All right, let's get into it. I do it live, so nothing special. I got a little framework over here, so I don't need to set up anything. We call it the Mono tutorial. I have some defaults to set it up. Mono tutorial. So I use Premake. It's just another neat tool to automate some stuff like having 64-bit project as shared library, so DLL basically includes some basic framework stuff. Also I can include EMGUI, I include MinHook also and Kiro, just for easy hooking now. I don't want to waste too much time. Also I include Mono, which helps a little bit with some types, and also we can look up some actual header files as well, which is pretty cool. But we get the real addresses from the game itself anyway, so we only use this for lookup. I think we can delete it, but I use it to have proper type hints. All right, what we need also a source folder with an application CPP. And this is my basic setup. Just add a penny key. I hook the graphics, which is DirectX 11, having an input for the menu key, adding a simple menu. It's just EMGUI, nothing special, and add a watermark so I can see that everything is working fine. I think we also need to add a precompiled header file. Basically this. We don't need this here. I just have it because it was useful in other projects. This is just my framework and some default headers I always include. All right, I can run precompile now to generate my solution. I also can open it via the bat file. Actually, you would just open the solution file by hand or create it by hand. Not a big deal. That's not what I want to show you today. I just want to show you the Mono stuff, how easy it is actually, in my opinion. So Town of Salem is 64 bits and we try to compile just to see what we have for now. While it's building, we can search for the DLL, which is Mono tutorial bin debugged in 64, and let's wait for this. There's a DLL. So I selected the process already. We have just some simple loading and our DLL. Okay, I think we have the game running. We'll just inject. Okay, this is some default debugging stuff. And yeah, we got the watermark. Can put it on and off. We have a menu, just EMGUI with insane FPS. Yeah, that's it. And we can, of course, press F9, which is my default penny key. Nothing special. So this is working out of the box. I don't need to do anything. What we actually need to do now to get the Mono stuff up and running is I will add some hook helpers and some Mono helpers, like a Mono class, which should be a singleton. So I only have one instance of the class and initialize all the necessary Mono process hooks, and also add a get Mono method, basically, so I can receive my game method. Yeah, and we add the feature as well, because I don't want to do it in the actual in Visual Studio. I add it here. So we have helpers and features. Helpers, we have Mono header, and we have the hook header, and we will have a feature which is called always rank it qualified. So where do we start? I think you should start with the hook because I only want to copy paste it. I use min hook here to do some basic stuff. I just created some defines and a helper function basically. So I can create a hook, min hook, create hook, enable hook, disable, which is actually redundant right now, I guess. So we unhook here. Check status is just a simple helper, so I have a pretty neat error message if hooking is failing for some reason. All right, nothing too special here, just your simple hook library. That's also not what I want to show you. Okay, let's get going the mono stuff. Of course, we need to include our precompiled header first, because I want to have everything in place. And yeah, let's create a mono class. The mono class should be, as I already mentioned, not really. Yeah, I don't know. So we just create a simple instance wrapper. So with static mono instance, we can ensure that there's only one instance when it's created. I don't want to return that, of course. Also want to make sure that everything is initialized properly. So we also add initialized flag here. Check if instance is if the instance is not initialized already, then call instance initialize basically. So we add an initialize here. We can make it private maybe, but for now it's fine, I guess. Let's add some, let's prevent to create a mono by hand. Create, that's it. First, what we need to do is let's go into process hacker, go into town of Salem exe, and let's see what is actually mono stuff here. So I already found the mono 2.0 BDWGC. This is the modern mono library basically. So every modern game actually uses. And we will hook here. You can also see the exports, which is basically containing all functions we need. But I will explain it in detail a little bit further. Let's start with initialize. So what do we need? As I explained, we need a mono handle. I didn't explain that, but that's actually what we just looked at. So 2.0 BDWGCDL, I guess. Hope that's right. Let's initialize the H module above so we can use it later as well if we need to. I'm not sure. And all right. Let's switch into Visual Studio. I actually don't want to code everything here. It's pretty annoying. All right. Let's continue. So let's, I just want to add some, let's do it another way. So to get a method basically later, we need a class name. We also need a method name, of course. And I always use, for now, it's pretty simplified, but the default is always assembly C#. So the first thing we need is a root domain. It's pretty easy to get. So mono get root domain. So The problem now is we don't have any type defs. What I can recommend is, as I already mentioned, is that you download the mono stuff from GitHub or from anywhere you can. Get into the headers and look at them. You will find all the functions, for example, for mono get root domain here. So you see that it's mono API just for some external fix and stuff. So this is the return body and the parameters actually void, so you don't need any. Yeah. I did that for all functions we will need, so let me just copy them. If you need them, you can actually just make sure to pause. And because it's easier, as I said, because of the type hints, I just include the mono stuff. I already did as well. These are all the methods we need. Yeah, so as you can see, root domain is no longer red because we can use it now. All right, so always make sure to add proper error checks. I will not add any debug information now because I know what is working and what not, just for the sake of this. We need the root domain, then we open the assembly, which is pretty much the default assembly C# DLL. Of course, check again if everything is fine and dandy. If not, return null pointer. The next we need is the image. So, and this one, right. Again, check for error. If there's an error, we don't wanna crash, so. Okay, so now that we have the image, which is undefined. Oh, yeah, that's undefined because it's not in these files here. Well, let me actually add these to the initialize already. So what I did now is I added the type hints and the type defs definitions, and also added the recording variables here. Yeah, we should of course map them as well. So the type defs to the actually variable and should be fine now. So I got a little bit ahead here. We will just use get proc address with the handle of the not moon of the mono DLL stuff, and can just get the addresses easy peasy. I also attach the thread to the root domain, so we prevent some crashing here in the future. All right. So now we have the P image and everything is pretty green. We can actually get the class. So, and the class, we need the image and the namespace, which can just be empty for this one. You might have a different namespace in other games, and if you hack other stuff, just make sure. This is not pretty generic here, just a simple example how you can build this function. So you should actually add more debug stuff. Okay, so now we have the class, and if we have the class, we can ask for the method by name. So we have the P class and the method name, and the param count can be 0 for the most part, but we can also put -1, which might crash or might have problems if you have multiple methods or overloads basically. I put -1 because I know that's working great here. And I don't hook much, just one simple function we hook, so it's not a problem at all. So the problematic pass was here. I thought that I already have the method, but what we got here is actually just some basic address which we cannot use to hook. In Mono you need to compile the function or get the compiled version actually, so because it's built or compiled in runtime, which is that's not the problem at all. We can just Mono compile the method because we already have the method, and if it's a null pointer, we of course need to return null pointer here, and if not, return compiled method. Actually, I see we can just return, I guess. Should be not the problem. If it's null pointer, it's a null pointer anyway. So, okay. I think we get our method function. We have all our addresses, so this should work already. This compiles, great. So let's include our helpers. This one and also the hook, so we don't need to do any crazy stuff later. Does it still build? That's a question. It should, yeah. So that's working. Okay, let's build the actual feature, which is the easy part. Some stuff is not actually interesting because it's also framework stuff, but we will just create a new class, so we got it wrapped a little bit. And we will add some basic stuff like we want to toggle it on and off. Also for the hook. If the hook is enabled, I want to track, so we will not do crazy stuff here. And yeah. Okay, let's add some basic event attaches. So what I do basically is I have initialized the class and I attach class functions or methods to specific events in my framework. So I don't need to do other crazy stuff. I can just implement. And we do that. So the first one is always ranked qualified menu. So as I already said, I have emGUI running, so we will just add the toggle here. Pretty easy stuff. Nothing too crazy. For some reason, it's red. Why? Explicit type is missing. Okay. So this should work now. So attach, update, and detach. In the attach, we will hook. In the update, we will check if the toggle is on, and if it's on, we will basically enable the hook or disable the hook if it's not. That's why we added our toggle and our hook enabled, so we can track that, and we need to unhook as well. Of course, we also need the hook function, but this is the easy part. Let's see. So we have the ranked information and is ranked play qualified. So with my little helper definition, we have return value boolean, we have the function and the parameters basically. So I can hover over here and we see nothing. Why? Well, we have the precompiled headers. Should work normally. Let's compile and see what's the problem here. I think maybe the precompiled header CPP is missing. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, it's missing. Okay, so let's compile again. So it's reloading here. We got it's basically just the CPP we need. So the precompiler is actually grabbing the stuff. Yeah. Okay. So what do we have here? It's not linked, right? Check status is not linked. So we have the hook here, right? Maybe we should also include the feature. Here. And we also add the feature here. So query application is just all the features I want to turn on. So okay, so now everything is green. We can see if we can test it. I think we can. Of course, nothing will happen actually, but sex status is already defined in application. Why is that? Should be defined. We have a pragma once. We have check status here. We added the helpers here. Huh. Interesting. If it's not working, I will pause to see what's the problem. Okay. Okay. So basically, I just deleted the CPP again because it was causing some compilation error. Nevertheless, we got the DLL compiled now. What I forgot also was set the initialized here. Not a big deal, but I do that now, and everything else is the same. So let's see what we get if we hook the DLL. So we got the watermark still, and we got always rank it qualified. So of course nothing happens, right? Because we didn't implement anything. All right, let's implement the stuff we need to, yeah. Oh, what I also added was a void pointer here, so we can save the address here. So nothing more, nothing less. And I also want to add one thing to the hook definition. So it's basically just a type definition and an original and a hooked variable I save here. If you can see it in the tooltip. And normally you would use ranked information here, but I don't have the struct now. We can just like do struct ranked information, and it would work the same basically. Or if we have fields here, we can use them in the hook. But I just use void pointer because we only need the, yeah, actually we don't need it anyway. So that's not a problem. Okay. And we just return true, of course, if because we want to be qualified always, right? Okay, then let's actually use our mono function. So ranked information is mono instance get method. So the class was ranked information, and the method is called isRankedPlay qualified. Hope we have no typo here. This should do the trick, and if this is a null pointer, so if we didn't actually got anything, we need to return Otherwise, we create our little hook. Yeah. We do the same when we update, but we also ask for if the hook, or if we need to toggle and the hook is not enabled, we will actually enable the hook and also set hook enabled to true. So nicht hooked, not hooked, hook enabled. Yeah, and we need the opposite as well. So if it's not toggled and the hook is enabled, we need to set hook enabled to false and disable or unhook. And yeah, I think we just unhook here as well. That's it. Yeah, I think that's all. So we get the address, we create the hook, we enable the hook if the checkbox is clicked, and we deactivate it if it's unchecked. Yeah. And we unhook also. So let's see if it compiles. And I think we are done. So let's unload the old one, inject a new one. Everything worked. Oh, nope. I think it's crashing, yep. Well, that happens sometimes. I think it shouldn't really crash for now. So, yeah, that's working. We got it injected. Rank it. We can join the queue here. We cannot join the queue here. Now we enable this one, click and rank it again, and we can join the queue. So we still have 0 of 10 games played, but we can join the queue. If we turn it off, click again and rank it, we can't. Right? And actually we can join the queue. Yeah, the problem in this game is that there's not really many players in Coven, which is the expansion, but doesn't matter. We just try to hook into some stuff, get some easy little trick running. Let's see if we get into the match, basically. I will pause anyway, but just to confirm that it's really working. I think we will re-queued anyway. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's it. We can unload, and the next would be to write an anti-AFK script, because every 300 seconds you do nothing, it adds a pop-up which says like you have 5 minutes to do anything, otherwise you get locked out. It doesn't really matter, lock-in is a matter of like seconds. Yeah, but why not, right? We can implement such stuff. For now, that's all. So as a little reminder, just some little hooking stuff. You can use your hooking library, whatever you want to use. The most interesting part is the mono stuff. You can get every important process address from, yeah, just the mono 2.0 DLL, and just go down the road to get the actual method. Yeah, I think that's it. There's not really more to it. So you can just get it here and use it. Thank you for watching. It's my first video, so don't be too harsh. Bye bye.